When most people hear the word marketing, they think of ads, right? Or maybe salespeople, or even that junk mail that shows up. But what if I told you that's just the very tip of the iceberg? The real definition of marketing, what it's really all about, has shifted dramatically. And honestly, understanding that shift is absolutely critical for any business that wants to survive today. So, let's redefine marketing for the world we're actually living in right now.
All right, so here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll get to the bottom of what marketing really is. Then, we'll dive into the massive forces that have completely reshaped the entire business landscape. From there, we'll look at the new playbook companies need to actually win, and finally, how they have to literally restructure themselves to make it all happen. So, let's start right at the beginning. To really get a handle on where marketing is going, we first have to agree on what it is. And that means we have to move way beyond those common stereotypes of just ads and sales pitches. I'm willing to bet your first thoughts were advertising and sales, right? And hey, you're not wrong. Those are definitely part of marketing, but they're just the most visible parts, and often they're the very last step in a much, much longer process. The real work, the heavy lifting of marketing, happens way before an ad ever gets made. Okay, so here's the official definition from the American Marketing Association. If you look closely, there's one word here that's the absolute center of gravity: value. This one word reframes everything. See, marketing isn't about pushing products on people. It's the entire process of creating and delivering real, genuine value to customers, to partners, and even to society as a whole. And this whole idea of value, it applies to pretty much everything. I mean, think about it. Of course, we market physical goods and services, but the Olympics markets an event. Disney World markets an experience. Even people and places, from politicians trying to get elected to entire countries trying to attract tourists, they're all being marketed. At its core, if an idea or an offering needs to be communicated to create value for an audience, well, it needs marketing.
Now that we have our true definition locked in, we've got to place it in the modern world. Because over the last couple of decades, a few massive forces have completely transformed the marketplace, making the old marketing playbook, well, pretty much obsolete. The first, and by far the most powerful, force is technology. The combination of the internet and the smartphone hasn't just changed marketing, it's changed how we live our lives. All of the world's information and basically every store on the planet is now sitting right in our pocket. Second up is globalization. It used to be that the business down the street was your main competition. Not anymore. Today, a local bookstore is competing directly with Amazon. A tiny startup in Bali can sell its products to a customer in Ohio. This creates some really intense competition, but it also opens up these huge new markets. And the third major force is the growing demand for social responsibility. It's just not enough anymore to have a good product. Consumers, and employees too, are now asking, what is your company's actual impact on the world? A company's ethics, its environmental footprint, that's become a crucial part of its value. So, what happens when you mash these three huge forces together? Well, you get one massive outcome: the empowered consumer. The balance of power has completely shifted from the company to the customer. With all the world's info in our pocket and a global megaphone through social media, we can research, purchase, and review anything, anytime. We are in control now. This power shift forces a really radical change in how companies have to think about themselves. They can no longer define themselves by the product they make. They absolutely have to define themselves by the value they deliver to the customer. I mean, just look at the difference here. Xerox doesn't just make copying equipment. It helps improve office productivity. Paramount doesn't just make movies, it markets entertainment. This is the crucial leap, from focusing on yourself and your stuff to focusing on what your customer actually needs. So, if the old playbook is totally obsolete and consumers are now in charge, what does the new one even look like? Well, the answer is a strategy called holistic marketing. It's a framework that's built specifically for this new, super complex reality. Holistic marketing works on a really simple but powerful idea. Everything matters. Every single touch point a customer has with you is a marketing opportunity. It's got 4 interconnected parts. Relationship marketing is all about building deep, long-term loyalty. Integrated marketing makes sure you have a consistent message and experience everywhere a customer finds you. Internal marketing, well, that's about getting your own employees to believe in the mission. And performance marketing demands that you actually measure what's working, not just for your bottom line, but for society too. They all have to work together. So when all those components are firing on all cylinders, the goal is to build what's called a marketing network.
This really just means moving beyond thinking in terms of one-time sales. Instead, you're trying to create a durable ecosystem of profitable relationships with your customers, your employees, your partners, basically with everyone who touches your brand.
But look, a brilliant strategy is totally useless without the right organization to actually execute it. And this is often the hardest part, right? It's the place where so many great ideas fail. So for our final section, let's look at how companies themselves have to fundamentally change to deliver on this holistic vision.
The biggest structural change is a complete flip of the old hierarchy. The traditional company was a pyramid, right? You had executives at the top, managers in the middle, and customers were somewhere down at the bottom, almost like an afterthought. A modern customer-centric company literally inverts that pyramid. The customers are at the very top. Right below them are the frontline employees who serve them every single day. And the job of management, all the way up to the CEO, isn't to give orders, it's to support the people who are supporting the customers.
Now, this inverted pyramid, it changes a company's entire culture. It means organizing your teams around what customers need, not around your internal product lines. But maybe the most powerful cultural shift is this. Instead of constantly reacting to and worrying about what your competitors are doing, you become so obsessed with delivering value to your customers that your competitors, they effectively become irrelevant.
So let's end with a real-world example that ties all of this together. Amazon. They are, perhaps, the most customer-focused organization on the entire planet, delivering immense value with incredible efficiency. But this brings us right back to that third market force we talked about, social responsibility. And it leaves us with a really critical question for the future of marketing. When a company gets this good at delivering customer value, what are we, as a society, willing to trade for it in terms of social and environmental impact? And who gets to decide that?